It was a dreary afternoon when I first encountered the Zimbabwean spiritualist. I had traveled to Zimbabwe with a singular purpose, to seek wealth and power. The economy was failing in South Africa, and I needed something, anything, to change the course of my life. My pockets were empty, my ambitions endless. I was desperate for a solution, and I had heard whispers that there were powerful practitioners in Zimbabwe who could help one ascend to unimaginable heights. I was directed to a village on the outskirts of Harare, where an old man was said to possess knowledge beyond the ordinary. When I met him, he looked like any other elderly man, wrapped in tattered robes, his eyes piercing and ancient. He spoke of spiritual realms and rites that had been forgotten by many, but that he had preserved. After explaining my needs, he agreed to help, but the cost would be more than I had bargained for. "You want power, my child," he said with a cryptic smile. "But you must understand the price. You will need to collect the destinies of others to fuel your rise. It is not a task for the weak-hearted." At that moment, I did not care what he meant by that. I was so hungry for success, so desperate for change, that I agreed without hesitation. He handed me a small black calabash, about the size of a man's palm. Its surface was smooth, almost unnaturally so, and it seemed to absorb the light around it, giving off an aura of darkness. The spiritualist instructed me that I must use it carefully, for it was not a mere object. It was a vessel capable of taking people's destinies, leaving them hollow and cursed. He said the calabash had been passed down through generations, its power derived from an ancient spirit that resided within it. I would be its vessel, and my task was to become a beggar in the streets. The plan was simple, or so it seemed. I was to act as a beggar in various parts of South Africa, but I had to choose my victims carefully. They needed to be people who were at a crossroads in life, individuals with untapped potential, unfulfilled dreams, or those seeking to rise above their circumstances. The more ambition they had, the greater the power they could bestow upon me once their destinies were taken. I began my work in Johannesburg. I chose a busy street corner, one where the rich and powerful frequently passed. I would sit there each day, wearing ragged clothes, my eyes downcast as though I had no will to live. The calabash was always by my side, hidden beneath my cloak. I would hold it out occasionally, waiting for the right person to approach. At first, it felt wrong. I felt the pull of guilt, of humanity. But the need for power quickly drowned those feelings. Over time, the calabash became an extension of my being. I would watch people walk by, sizing them up. Some would glance at me with pity. Others would avoid eye contact altogether, but occasionally there would be a person who couldn't help but stop. A businessman, a student, a mother. Someone whose eyes told a story of unfulfilled dreams. It was always subtle at first. They would drop a coin, a bill, sometimes nothing at all. But when they did, I would feel the change, the warmth of their energy slipping into the calabash. The moment it was sealed inside, I would feel a rush of power. It was as if the essence of their future, their potential, their very soul had been taken. And with every victim, the black calabash grew heavier, filled with the fragments of their destinies. Victims, the destroyed souls. One of my first victims was a young woman named Thandi. She was an ambitious student, studying to become a lawyer. She had dreams of changing the world, of standing up for the marginalized. And I could see the fire in her eyes when she passed me on the street one afternoon. She stopped for a moment, dropped a 10 Rand note into my hand, and smiled sympathetically. That was all it took. A drop of her hope, her ambition, seeped into the black calabash. Within weeks, I began hearing of Thandi's downfall. She was diagnosed with a mysterious illness that no doctor could explain. Her grades began to plummet. Her relationships with family and friends deteriorated. And within months, she had dropped out of law school. She returned to her village, defeated and broken. And her once bright future was extinguished. I watched all of this from the comfort of my street corner, where I had begun to realize the true extent of my power. Then there was Jabu, a promising young businessman with a mind for innovation. He had recently started a tech company. and I could see the hunger in his eyes as he passed me on the street. He was on the verge of something big, and I could taste it. After he dropped a crisp 100 Rand note into my hand, I felt the weight of his ambition slip into the calabash. A few months later, Jabu's company crashed. Investors pulled out, the media spread rumors about his incompetence. And soon, he was buried in debt. He fled to his village in the rural parts of Limpopo, abandoning his dreams and the life he had worked so hard for. When I gazed into the mirror that night, I saw his shattered face, broken and hollow, begging for the life that had been ripped from him. It was a small victory, but it left me hungry for more. One of the most tragic victims was a man named Themba. He had been a father of 3, a pillar of his community, known for his wisdom and strength. He had helped countless people, and always believed that his sacrifices would eventually lead to greatness. When he passed me one cold winter morning, I felt his deep desire for recognition and prosperity. I knew that he had the potential to be something greater. And as he dropped a coin into my hand, his life slipped into the black calabash. It didn't take long before Themba's life unraveled. His marriage fell apart, his children became estranged, and his business, a small but thriving grocery store, collapsed. Word spread that Themba had become a shell of the man he once was, wandering the streets of his village aimlessly, lost in a fog of confusion and regret. He had no idea what had happened to him, but I knew. I had taken his destiny. Months passed, and I became intoxicated with power. I no longer needed to beg for scraps. People were drawn to me as if by some invisible force, and I could see their destinies unfold in front of me, like a tapestry waiting to be unraveled. But as the calabash grew heavier, I felt a growing darkness within me, a pull that I could not escape. I had ruined so many lives, and yet it wasn't enough. The mirror showed me their suffering, their brokenness. But it also began to show me something more terrifying, my own reflection, slowly warping into something monstrous. One night, I could take it no longer. The weight of the calabash was too much. The voices in my mind, the whispers of the souls I had destroyed, grew louder. I decided to throw the calabash away, to rid myself of the curse it had become. I walked to a river on the outskirts of the city, and with all my strength, I hurled it into the water. For a brief moment, I felt a sense of relief, as though I had finally rid myself of the burden. But when I returned home, something was wrong. The air felt thick, heavy with something I couldn't explain. I opened my door, and there, sitting in the corner of my room, was the black calabash. It was back, untouched, as if it had never left. And then I heard it. A voice, soft and insistent, coming from within the calabash. More destinies. More and more, till you are mad. I stared at it in horror, the realization hitting me like a wave. I was trapped. The calabash had consumed me, and no matter what I did, I could never escape its grip. From that day forward, the calabash became my only companion. I could no longer sleep without hearing its whispers. I could no longer walk through the streets without feeling the pull of those whose destinies I had yet to claim. The power had ruined me, and now I was its slave. And so, the cycle continued, more victims, more ruined lives, until I lost everything, including my mind. The black calabash had taken it all, and it would never let me go. I've been consulting pastors, spiritualists, sangomas and everywhere you can think of, but I didn't get help. Even today I speak, I'm still trying to look for help. Help to destroy the black calabash, but to no avail. Sometimes the black calabash has the tendency of even threatening me, saying, I will kill you. You know, and I would just run to the streets like a mad person, hoping to bump into someone who can help me. Help me to destroy the black calabash. I did try to go back to the spiritualist who gave me the calabash, but he was no longer there. People said he one of the good days. He just left and no one seems to know where he has gone to. I wanted to give him back his black calabash. Thank you for listening, guys. If you found this story educational, please like and subscribe to my channel and wait for the next story. Bye.